Hello, everybody. This is Barbie with Two Friends in the Bible coming on to give an update. Today is Friday, September 23rd, 2022, about 4:45 p.m. And, I sat down and I thought, well, let me just do a little update. Next thing you know, about 3 pages typed. Not sure how it happened. So apparently it's needed. I need to update. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I want to just kind of give you before we get started on the actual news part of it and what's going on, I just kind of wanted to reiterate to everyone on about how our channel works. Okay, I mean, because I just want to make sure you understand. We did do an introductory video when we started, but it has been several months, so you might not see it because it's kind of far down on the video line now. So I'm going to do that real quick. There are several different ideas on how the end times are going to occur. Okay, there's several different ideas, and everyone, some people believe in the pre, some believe in the mid-trib, some people believe in the post-trib, some in the pre-wrap. I mean, so there's a couple of different ones, but one thing that we do know without a doubt is that it is definitely going, that the rapture and Jesus returning to this earth is definitely going to happen. So even if we don't necessarily 100% agree on how the events are going to unfold, it's definitely going to happen. That much we can agree on. And we need to be respectful of that, respectful of other people's opinions. Because, at the end of the day, the only person that really, really, truthfully knows how it's going to happen is God. I mean, even Jesus doesn't know the day and hour. Only the Father knows. And yeah, we can speculate and we can go with all the clues and the signs and see that things are opening and that we're definitely getting there. And but honestly, at the end of the day, God is the only one who really, really 100%. And Jesus knows is a lot of, he knows what's going to go on. He just doesn't know the exact day or hour. And obviously he knows because he's the one that gave John in the book of Revelation the words. He was the inspiration of that book. John just wrote it. So anyway, that's why this channel, that's one of the reasons that's the primary reason we don't teach one specific doctrine, because, as I've stated before, I sure would hate to say, oh, it's 100% pre, we're going to be raptured 7 years later. Jesus is going to come back. We're going to have the 7 years tribulation. And then I'm wrong, and we don't get raptured when I say it's going to happen or whatever. And then people get discouraged or start saying, well, everybody keeps saying the rapture is going to happen, but it never does. We don't want people to get discouraged because like I said, what we do know is it is going to happen. Okay. But only God knows 100%. One of the things, we always tell you is to be joyful and happy, and whether it's pre, mid, or post, but prepare as if it's post so that so that we're ready, so even if you don't believe that it's post, prepare as if it is, because there is a chance somebody's going to be wrong. Somebody is on how all this is going to pan out. I do think we get close to understanding it and close to knowing how things are going to pan out, but we don't know 100%. So let's just try to be mindful of that and just stay joyful and happy that it's coming, regardless if it's in 2 weeks or 2 months, whatever. Be thankful, it's coming, because it's definitely coming. One thing we know is that's going to happen. And, Jesus told us it was. And just make sure that you understand what the seals are, what the trumpets are, what the bowls are. And so that if they start opening, let's just say by chance we are mid-trib, and here we are waiting on the rapture now, and it turns out we're mid-trib. Let's just say by chance, and I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying, let's just say by chance, then we're going to be like, we might miss something like the seals opening because, yeah, the seals are going to be bad, but the trumpets and the bowls are going to be way worse. But the seals are still going to be bad. But look what our country and this world has gone through in the last 2.5 years. And it gets to the point now, I think a lot of us just kind of go, oh, another crisis to get through, another crisis to get through. What if we ended up being mid and we didn't say that about, and then we didn't catch the seals opening? And that can happen, because we become, dormant. We're like, well, if the rapture didn't happen this fall in the festival and the feast, then it's going to happen next fall. Well, maybe there's a possibility, but always watch and be ready. Okay. And, we have just seen a lot of craziness over the last 2.5 years. I mean, we all have. And we want to be careful. Make sure you understand what those seals are and stuff. We don't want to miss that. And this channel, that's what, the other thing that we primarily teach on is who are the main characters, such as the two witnesses and the harlot. Who are they? Who's the male child? Who's the Antichrist? Who's the false prophet? We teach all these things in our videos on our Revelation 101 series so that you'll know when you start seeing these people come up. If you start seeing someone come up and Israel has their red heifers and they sacrifice it, and then the temple gets built, and then all of a sudden you got someone sitting in it saying he's God. Well, that's the clear one that you're going to know. Jesus gave us that sign in Matthew 24. There's no ends, it's about that sign. When you see him, the man of sin, sitting on the throne, declaring that he is God in the temple, then that's the abomination of desolation, and you're going to know that's the Antichrist. And right after that's when the mark of the beast and everything else starts to happen. Okay, and so again, we just want to iterate what we said when we started this channel. One other thing is that we will not argue with other Christians about who was right and who was wrong. Okay, we will not debate it. I mean, if you want to, we're going to teach what we feel the Holy Spirit's teaching us. And if you want to say, well, have you ever thought about this? Hey, please bring it, because we love to learn. But if it's disrespectful or demeaning, negative, hateful to either us or to one of our other viewers, we will not respond. Okay. And we will delete the comment, because the last thing that non-Christians need to see is Christians arguing among themselves on which way scripture's right. Think about it. I mean, if I'm on here and I say, well, this is what we were taught and this is what we believe, and then we have someone come out and tell you, you're wrong, this isn't right, it's this way, you're deceiving people, you need to do it this way, blah, blah, well, okay, maybe inadvertently we did say something that maybe wasn't exactly correct, but then again, maybe it is, because then again, God is the only one that 100% knows. Okay. And so if you want to say, have you ever thought that, hey, say it, that's awesome. But we will not argue or have a disagreement, because it's not what Christians are here for. It's not what Jesus taught us to do. And it's not what non-Christians need to see. I mean, think about it, becoming a Christian, especially what if you were a Muslim or a Hinduism or a Buddhism, or you were a Jehovah Witness or a Mormon or something, and you're coming to this channel, or maybe you're an atheist, or maybe you've never even looked at the Bible, and you're like, and you feel God tugging at your heart, and you know, and you're bringing you to these videos and you're wanting to learn, and then you look down in comments and you see people arguing about it. Well, then they're going to be like, well, I don't even understand what's right. What's right? These Christians can't even figure it out. No, no, we need to keep that in private, or most definitely respectful. There's a way of saying it. Okay. So I appreciate y'all letting me go on that little rant. All right. So I've had several people ask, how are we going to know if it's the mark of the beast? That's a good question. It really is, because I know when the jab came out, a lot of people were concerned that that could possibly be the mark of the beast. Well, we knew it wasn't the mark of the beast because it didn't fit all the criteria of being the mark, which we're going to go over in a minute. So we knew it wasn't, but that does not mean that Satan wasn't working through that jab to see how easy people were willing just to say, give it to me, give it to me. So we don't know. It could have been a precursor, but we know it wasn't the actual mark of the beast. Okay. And here's the 5 ways to tell if it's the mark. Prior to the mark, the beast empire must be formed and present on earth, which means the 10 horns who will reign with the beast must be present too. Means the beast has already come on the scene, the beast being the Antichrist, and the 10 kings being the 10 countries that are going to support him. The 10 kings, they'll be kings over territories, and they're going to support him, because we're not going to have, it's going to be a one world order. We're not going to have all the different countries. And so you're going to have kings that are like over this territory and over this territory. Okay, we haven't seen that yet. The false prophet. False prophet, if you haven't seen our video, we do an extensive video on who the false prophet could be. He is going to be very big in implementing that mark. He is going to be the one that is going to really be forcing this mark on people. Okay, so he has to be present as well, or, there's no way to do it. The mark is also associated with worshiping the beast. Every time the mark is mentioned in the Bible, worshiping the beast is always associated as well. Okay, so when that mark comes out, it's going to be, you're going to need it for a lot of reasons, but you're going to, one of the things that's going to come along with it is it's going to be involved with worshiping the beast, the Antichrist. Okay. And the mark is physical, and the name number, and it is the number of the man, which is 666. And I did a full video on gematria and what that number 666 can mean, because it says it's the number of the man. So it does not mean it's definitely going to be 666. It's the number of the man. But I explained that in depth in my gematria video that Flora and I did. Okay. And you can find that information about the mark, the name of the man, in Revelation 13:17. And if this mark is not applied to the right hand of the forehead, it's not the mark. Jab was just, in our arms. Okay. So definitely not the mark. And that mark is going to come with, you are not allowed to buy or sell. Okay. So those are the 5 things you look for to know if it's the mark or not. The mark of the beast. Okay. Those are the things that's got to happen. The beast has to be in power. False prophet has to be in power, because he's going to be over implementing the mark of the beast. Worshiping the beast. It's going to have something to do with the name of the man or the number of the man, which is the Antichrist. And it's going to have to be applied to the right hand or the forehead, and you're not going to be able to sell or buy without it. Okay, so that's how you're going to know if it's the mark of the beast. Okay. And I decided to go, I would have done an actual continuation of the revelation with Flora on this, but we're getting close to the fall feast next week, and we're in a very, very high watch for the rapture. Not saying it's going to happen, it's just we're in a high watch. And so I wanted to get it out, and we're not getting online till Sunday, but we did do another video on the mark of the beast as well, if you want to go back and get a little more information than what I just gave you. Okay, and so all these signs have to be present or it's not the mark of the beast. And let's give an example. If the US goes to digital currency, which they're talking about, number 46 is talking about doing, they're also talking about possibly implementing a chip in the hand to control this currency. That's not going to be the mark because it doesn't meet all 5 criteria. Okay, it's just going to be probably another type of precursor to the mark, but that would not be the mark. And no, we might not want it and we might not like digital currency, but it's not going to be the mark. And another example is, and I heard this from Nelson, what if the U.S. is taken over by totalitarian government ran by an evil man, or people are saying he is the crime, he is the Antichrist, but he hasn't set himself up in the temple and declared himself God. And then, that's a tough one. I mean, you got a totalitarian government, New World Order already, and it's ran by an evil man, and people are running around saying he's the Antichrist, and then he brings out that mark, something is at the mark. You got to be careful. In that situation, no, because it didn't meet all 5 criteria. It's not saying bow down to the beast. It doesn't have the false prophet in charge of it. Okay, so that's a no, but it could be, that's kind of close, And then another one is, let's say Bill Gates rolls out a vaccine, Bill Gates, and you can't have a digital passport to allow you to buy or sell. Is this the mark? And the answer would be no, because there again, it does not hit the criteria of everything that needs to happen. The beast system, the 10 kings, false prophet, it met the buy or sell, but it didn't meet all the criteria. Okay, so it can be hard to decipher. So just make sure you know what those criteria are. So in the event we are still here when it happens, we recognize things, okay? And the only way to 100% know who the Antichrist is he's going to sit on that throne in the temple and declare himself God. Jesus clearly tells us this in Matthew 24. Okay, so that's our definite. Now, if we are pre-rapture, like a lot of people believe, we won't be here and we won't see all that. But if it turns out we are mid or post-trib, then yeah, we would see that. So here's my next question, guys. Do y'all think that what's kind of going on right now? Do you think it's the calm before the storm? Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of crazy, definitely. But we all know the tribulation is going to be way worse, especially the Great Tribulation, which lasts 3.5 years. It's going to be really bad, and that's when the trumpets and all and then ultimately the bowls and the Armageddon war happens, and that's the last 3.5 years that we're on Earth. I mean, I believe we're definitely in the last days for sure. I mean, think about it. Is it a coincidence that, 5 red heifers that are unblemished just happen to show up before the feast holiday, just happen to get out of quarantine on the first day of Rosh Hashanah? No red heifers been unblemished or seen in Israel for over 1900 years. They did have one in 2018, but they have to stay unblemished until they're like 4 years old or something. And this one didn't make it, so this one got put into the red heifer club because it didn't make it, but now we have 5, and it's possible these 5 don't make it because Right now, they're like 17 months-ish, 20 months old. And they got to make it a few more months, about, 6 more months, whatever. They got to make it to that without getting any blemishes. So, they might not make it. Then again, all they need is one. And, if you remember when David was fighting the giant, he bent down and he picked up 5 stones, 5 rocks, and put them in his bag. He took one out, did his little slingshot thing, and hit the giant and killed him. So he didn't need the other 4, but he put him in there in the event that he did. So, he only needed 1, but he had 5 in case. So, it's kind of similar, right? And the other thing too is that temple. I know a lot of people, when we think of the temple, we think of it like the one that was destroyed in 70 AD. I mean, that thing was huge and just immaculate. Well, I don't think it's going to need to be like that during the end times. I think it can be like something to the effect of maybe like a tent, a nice one, or something to that effect. I don't think it's going to have to be this huge immaculate thing. And even if it is, they're saying it's only going to take a few months to build it. So, and regardless how sad it is that the Jews are looking for this because of bringing back the sacrifices and then ultimately their Messiah, it's still a huge end time prophecy. We need to most definitely keep these Jews in our prayers, all unsaved, but the Jews, because they're going to be so fooled. And the thing is, one prophecy might not be a huge deal, but when we look at all prophecies coming together and coming to pass, that's when everyone started really waking up. It's not just one prophecy. Like when the Revelation 12 sign happened, September 23rd, 2017, 5 years ago today. 5 is the number for grace. When that happened, a lot of people thought maybe the rapture was going to happen. And then when it didn't, I think they realized, wait a second, just because we've seen that particular prophecy does not mean, but we didn't see these other things. And so now people realize, wait a minute, we've got to be seeing a lot more than just a prophecy. Obviously that sign was telling us that we needed to start looking in the book of Revelation and getting prepared. And then in addition to getting these 5 red heifers, Israel's working on this railway that is going to bring 70, the number for completion, nations from the airport, Ben Gurion Airport, to the temple. And that is to, that's where we're going to be sacrificing and asking for atonement of sins and whatnot, but they're going to be able to bring 70 nations. So that's a 7, UN General Assembly, like we talked about yesterday. They're having their 77th. I said 70th, but I believe it's their 77th assembly. And that is where Lapid did his thing. So we got that. And then that railway is scheduled to be finished by April. Now, is that a prophecy? No. But it is helping Jews get there much faster. And the amount of Jews that have moved in from Russia and the Ukraine has been like triple what it's ever been, obviously, because the war. But we know that right at the time that the Antichrist sits on the throne and it's the abomination of desolation, that Jesus has warned that the Jews need to go into the wilderness because that's when the great tribulation starts and the 6th seal opens. And he warns them to go into the wilderness for protection because the Antichrist is fixing to kill them. And he tells them, don't bring a coat, don't bring your belongings, just go. And that last 3.5 years, he protects them in the wilderness. Okay, so all these things, are coming to pass. But, Then in addition, you got the 7th Shemitah cycle starting Monday. The 50th Jubilee year starts next month. Jupiter, which is the man-child, Christ, is going to be closer on Earth Monday than it has been in 70 years. So look at all them sevens, and that does not include like the 7 seals and the 7 bowls and the 7 trumpets. I mean, and 7 is the number for completion. So this is why so many people believe that we are on a very high alert. And even if for whatever reason we are not raptured, and the rapture high alert dates are starting Sunday the 25th, and they're going to go through the 16th of October, I believe, which I think is the end of the Feast of Trumpets. Check my dates, but I believe that that's the very, very high risk. And again, like I said yesterday, don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen. It could be, we still need to see that Gog-Magog war happen. Most of us believe that Gog-Magog war, and I did it, Flora and I did a video on this too. Most of us believe that's got to happen before the rapture or very close to it. And it's kind of setting itself up next week. Believe it's Hezbollah has said that if the Jews blow their shofar during the celebrations or wear their priest robes, they're gonna attack, and they're gonna do that. I mean, they were blowing the shofar last night for the starting, getting ready for the celebration. They were blowing it, and at the end of the celebrations, they blow it 100 times. So is that setting us up for that? I don't know. Gog-Magog war is supposed to involve Russia and Syria and Iran. So now Hezbollah, of course, is a part of Iran because that's one of their proxies. But anyway, I don't think that there's anything that says that definitely has to happen that way. A lot of people just believe it has to happen that way. It's possible it doesn't. So if we are not indeed raptured, we need to really start watching the seals and see if these are opening. Okay. Now there are some people out there that believe the first 2 seals have already opened, and that 3rd seal, which is it the red horse? I think it's the red horse. And that red horse is the one that is it white, black, red, and pale. The red horse is the one that brings famine. And we see that coming, right? So a lot of people believe that 1st and 2nd seal is open. And quite frankly, I kind of do too. And I think Flora does too. Okay, so, and then in addition, now you've got Lapid, which is the prime minister. He's calling on 2-state solution right before the holidays with Palestine. It's interesting. You've got the Abrahamic family house that was just built. And if you haven't seen what that is, Google it. It's the Abrahamic family house, just being finished built, and it's scheduled to open in October. It's going to be in the UAE, and that is going to be the headquarters for the one world religion. And they have built a mosque, a church, and a synagogue. And that's going to be the headquarters for one world religion. And if you haven't, like I said, Google it if you haven't looked into it. Oh, and Pope Francis is going to be over it. And a lot of people, and if you're Catholic, please forgive me, but I'm just going to say what I'm hearing. And it makes some sense, but especially now that Pope Francis is overseeing this, because, I mean, to me, it's just, that's not why God sent Jesus, was for us to accept being in the Muslim faith, or even in Jewish, because that's why he sent Jesus. So Pope Francis overseeing it, to me, is kind of a little bit of a slap, but it was expected. A lot of people have been predicting that this is what was going to happen. And a lot of people believe he's possibly the false prophet. Now, I believe he's like 80, 81 years old and his health isn't great, but you know, that, I mean, not Noah, but Moses was 80 when he led the Israelites out. I mean, I guess anything's possible, right? Okay, and then you've got the one world government that's going on in the works. That's in the works right now. And the UN is we talked about it's in its 77th assembly right now, and all they talk about, everyone there, is peace, safety, and security. Peace, safety, and security. What is the Antichrist going to be talking about? Peace, safety, and security. Okay. So it's a lot of that going on. And then on top of that, Prime Minister Lapid said that the only request that he has, the only stipulation he has about a two-state solution is he wants it to be peaceful. So I don't know. Is that opening up a peace treaty? And think about it too, guys. If we had spoken about this 2.5 years ago, we would have never believed any of this that's going on right now would be going on. I was trying to find my book because there's something I want to tell you about, but that's okay. I think I can remember it. So just, keep your eyes on all of that, okay? And I know I'm going over some stuff that I've already gone over, but I just feel it in my soul that it needs to be done, and that we're going to be getting on here a lot for the next couple of weeks, especially during the high watch. Okay, so I wanted to tell you another thing that I'm really noticing is I follow a lot of people, and man, I tell you what, the amount of people that are having rapture dreams is crazy. I mean, it is astronomical. And I went on YouTube and I searched for rapture dreams 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And I really and truthfully only get like a small percentage compared to what I get now. I mean, if you do 2021, 2022, astronomical amount of people having rapture dreams. And that's just the people who actually set up a YouTube page and actually report it. That's not even the ones that aren't saying anything on there. Okay. And the difference is just amazing. Well, I started studying eschatology, started studying Revelation. It wasn't really eschatology, but I started studying Revelation with Flora, like August of last year, 2021. But I had actually started studying it the year or so before. And the lady that I was studying with, she has taught me so much. And she had really felt like there was a possibility of a rapture at that point. Well, my heart was telling me, no, just something, it didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like enough had happened. And I don't know, just my gut feeling, the Holy Spirit speaking to me, I just did not feel it at that time. Okay, so when it didn't happen, I wasn't overly shocked by it. And last August 21st, 2021, I had a rapture dream. And I'm one of those people, I can wake up and I know I've dreamed, and within seconds of being awake, it's gone. And so I don't remember a lot of dreams, but I do remember some. I had a ton last year, a ton. And they were all referenced somewhat to end times in roundabout ways. And so I just kind of wrote them down and put them to the side. I told God, I said, I need kind of major clarification. And so last August, I had a rapture dream, and I actually can remember it. And so it tells me, it was supposed to be, but I did write it in my book. I just couldn't get to it. I'm gonna try to remember it. Well, I do remember it, but we were at my house, dusk, probably the sun just starting to set, and there was a bunch of us, and we live on 5 acres, but a lot of it's wooded. Maybe 4 acres is wooded. The rest of it is open with our house in it. It's like somebody took our house and dropped it in the middle of the woods. And but we do have yard area. And there was just tons of people, and they were all standing in the yard. And my husband and I was out there, and we were just standing there, and we were looking up, and we were getting so excited because it was time for the rapture. And I don't know why so many people were at my house, but they were. And so we're all at my house, and my husband's with me, and we're all looking up at the, waiting on the rapture. And I could see Jesus up there in the clouds, but he wasn't coming to get us. And then about that time, a bunch of angels swarmed down. Now you know how typically we think of angels, in their nice little outfits and their white wings. Of course, there's several different types of angels, but their white wings and just beautiful, right? Well, these angels were all really colorful, and they were, I don't know what the right term is, dwarfs, little people. And the angel that came to me and spoke to me directly, and my husband was right beside me, was Michael, Angel Michael. And I remember, he told me he was Michael. And I remember thinking that I expected Michael to look more like Fabio. Now, I wasn't expecting this. But, angels come in all shapes and sizes and forms. So, but he told me that it wasn't time yet, but that it was getting time, it was getting close, and that everyone I saw that was here in my yard was going to be raptured. But the people that I did not see would not be raptured, and that I need to start spreading the word. And of course, I know family and friends wise who was not here. And it's very discouraging and upsetting to me. But it is why I decided right at that moment that I was going to start studying Revelation and eschatology so that I could start teaching it to people. And I wanted to do the YouTube videos. And it wasn't maybe a week, a few days, that I said something. Flora and I were doing either Genesis or Exodus study, and I said something to her and said that I wanted to start studying eschatology and end times, and she's like, "Oh, I want to do that." So hence Two Friends and a Bible, and that's where that started. And her and I, we spent hours and hours studying, and finally did our first video in May. So 9 months, 9 months of studying. We still don't know everything. And we never will. We never will. God's going to show it to us whenever he thinks that we need to know it. And so all we can do is share what he's given us. Well, so I knew that last fall feast that happened, I think they were in October last year. Sometimes they're in September, sometimes they're October. I think they were actually in October last year. So I knew the rapture was not going to happen then. I knew it because Michael told me. So I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I knew that it was coming close. Well, at this time last year, we didn't have these wars going on. Everybody fighting, rumors of wars and rumors of wars, nations fighting against nations, kingdom against kingdom. Men dreaming dreams and having visions, that was going on, but not to the extent it is now. And now everyone's fighting with everybody. Wars everywhere. Just so much more is going on. We've talked about all the different signs. And so I see now why there was no way last year. But I see why there is a way this year. Well, it was probably in this past May. I don't, like I said, I don't have my book. I believe it was in May, maybe June, that I had another rapture dream. And I've only had two, other than just, I've had a lot of like innuendo dreams that are like, if you really sit down and look at it, you can tell it's talking about certain signs to the end times. It's too much to go into, but and I haven't had dreams, and well, I mean, I'm having dreams, but I don't remember them. Hadn't had them in several months, but the one that I had last was, I think, May, maybe 1st of June. And the only thing that one was my husband and I was standing out in my front yard. There was no one else here. And we were looking up because then we knew it was time for the rapture. And that's all it was. So yeah, a lot of people are having dreams. It's interesting. So anyway, I just thought I would share that with you. And I'm going to move on now, but there's a rumor going around actually in the secular world that the world is going to end tomorrow, 9/24/22. Okay. So God does tell us that this earth will be destroyed. I mean, it's going to end, but not until the tribulation is over and not until the 1,000-year millennial reign is over. Okay. At that point, then God does come down and he does make a new heaven and a new earth, and he makes it to resemble the Garden of Eden. He makes it like the Garden of Eden, where we were supposed to be in the beginning before sin and ugliness entered this world. But at that point, Satan and sin's gone. So we're going to be able to live like we were supposed to, with immortal bodies, glorified bodies. Okay, so yes, that is going to happen, but not because we're just going to have an explosion because the earth shifts a little bit. I just don't believe that's going to happen. That's not the way God says it's going to happen. He says we're going to have this tribulation period and we're going to have the end times, and then we're going to have the millennial reign, and then we're going to have a new heaven and earth. So no, I don't believe that tomorrow our earth is going to be gone. Now part of what's going along with that secular rumor is that there's going to be total blackouts. Now, I could get on board with that. That could possibly happen. Everything else crazy's happened in 2 years. Why not a blackout? But that's not going to destroy. But even if that did happen, it's not going to destroy the world. Okay. And, and I think a lot of the secular world heard what that German chancellor said. He said to watch for September 24th, because it's going to be one of those types of days that you remember what you were doing and where you were when this certain event's going to happen, and so I think they're just kind of putting all that together. But no, the world is not going to end tomorrow. Yeah, we could have some blackouts. We could have some tribulation. There's things that could happen, but no, the world's not going to end. And just remember, the Bible tells us 365 times, do not fear. Okay, so don't fear. All right, now we're going to go into some actual updates on the news. Russia is actually pushing nukes into Crimea. And now we're seeing them pushing nukes into Belarus. Yeah, it's kind of concerning. Yeah, he's actually moving nukes in. So that's just kind of concerning. And then we have found out that, when Russia did this partial mobilization that he put together the other day, and he said he was going to basically draft, it is draft really. Well, not the reservists, but he's bringing up the reservists, and then anyone that's ever been in the military, he was going to bring up to 300, 1,000 of them into the army, into the military. And if they try to leave the country, try to escape, anything like that, it's going to be an act of treason, which then also he said that it's up to 10 years in prison. So I guess it depends on what they do, whether it's, well, I guess the treasonous acts would be up to 10 years in prison, but I know a lot of times treason can cause killing, termination, execution, of some, especially, something like that. We haven't had a draft, since World War II, or at least they haven't. So it's going to be interesting. That's interesting. And then his other thing he's going to do is he's going to annex several cities. And I reported which cities those were the other day. One was Donbass, and then I can't pronounce the other couple. The thing about those cities is the people that were pro-Ukrainian and pro-Zelensky, they've gone. Those people are out of those cities. They left. Now, the people that were more either neutral or pro-Russia, they're still there. So they're doing the reformations today, and they're going to go through the 27th, which is Tuesday. And I guess they're letting the people vote on that, or, I think they go in, they get the paper and they put down yes or no. I mean, that's it basically. But being that they are mostly either neutral or more pro-Russian, I would say it's going to pass. And so we can probably assume that that's going to happen. And so when that happens, he's annexed those 3 cities. And at that point, if anyone tries to attack them, or Ukraine tries to go back and get them back, like he's done the other cities, Zelensky, it's considered an act of war. And so he'll declare war. Well, he's got those countries, Armenia, Belarus, and the other ones I talked about the other day under the CRT. And the CRT is kind of like NATO, but it's just 6 countries. And if, like if we were to go in and declare war on Belarus, then we're declaring war on all 6 of those countries, Armenia, Russia, same thing. So if someone declares war on those cities, they are now going to be part of Russia. So then those other countries, Armenia and all them, of course, Armenia's got enough problems of their own right now, but they have to get involved. Okay, so that's what he's doing. Well, someone leaked, and I just kind of went over that, even though I talked about it, I think yesterday, maybe the day before, but somebody, and this was supposed to be a limited mobilization. Okay. But someone has leaked, and it's part of his administration. But it's someone that came from the Kremlin, I believe. I'm not sure if it was straight administration or the Kremlin that worked in the administration, but someone leaked part of the paperwork. And there's a secret clause number 7. And in that clause, it states that he can actually recruit and draft up to 1.2 million people, not 300,000 like he said. 1.2 million. That's a full mobilization. That is not a partial. That is full. And so that's, yeah. And people are, the borders to Finland and Georgia, I mean, they're just completely backed up. Men 18 to 65 years old are going to be charged with treason if they try to leave the country, even if they haven't received papers, to be drafted. They are still going to be charged with treason if they try to leave Russia. And other people are trying to leave Russia, and they're trying to go to countries that are the no visa countries. I guess, well, it's easier, obviously. But now the airlines have jacked up the prices to like $5,000 a ticket to go. So it's becoming a big old mess over there. And not that it wasn't already, but now the mess is inside of Russia as well as Ukraine. It's just getting worse and worse. And so, yeah, he actually has going to be able to do 1.2 million. And he also put in that he's going to go more for the like rural areas instead of the cities, because they're less likely to fight it. They're less likely to fight it than people who live in the city, which is, really kind of ironic here because here in the States, at least in Georgia where I live, the rural area is the area you got to worry about because we're the rednecks with the guns and whatever. I got tickled when I heard that because I was like, it would be the opposite in this state. So yeah, let's keep them in their prayers. I feel really bad. This is communist at its finest. This is communist at its finest. This is how a communist country works. And, the belief is that, and I was listening to a general, like a general that's retired, and he says what he thinks is what he feels that Putin will do is in the next couple of months, he's going to kind of take his time to get everything set up. He pulled the military out of, one of the sets of military out of Syria. My guess is those are going to be the ones to help hold down the fort. And then the reservists may be next, because they're going to have more military training than someone who just got drafted. And he's going to get them trained. He's moving nukes into different areas, and he's going to get everything just basically set up. I'm sorry, I thought somebody was here. Basically set up and ready because, they're getting ready to hit that cold winter, and Russia and Ukraine get the nasty winters. So his thought process is get everything ready, get it set up, bring in the reservists, bring in the ones from Syria, to keep them to hold things together, and then get these other guys trained and ready to go. Yeah. And it might be totally opposite of what this guy said. He might just run in and not care. We don't know. We'll find out if he's smart. That's the way he'll do it. But, he's not a real pleasant person. And, and he said if anyone messes with what he's trying to do, he's bringing out the nukes. And, the thing about Putin is he says what he means and means what he says. He don't beat around the bush. If he says that's what he's going to do, that's what he's going to do. And, like I said, the voting's going on until the 27th. We'll find out at that point. Sorry, I've been having allergies. Find out at that point if it's going to happen or not. And Kiev, I think that's one of the areas possibly that they're looking at annex. And if that one folds, pretty much you can count on everyone else folding as well. If they see them do it, they'll go along with it. Okay, so just keep your prayers for Ukraine and Russia. It's ugly, and that I know a lot of people don't realize that, but that very well could lead us into the World War III. Very well could do it, especially if nukes are going to get pulled out, because then NATO's going to get involved, and then if anyone goes after Russia, then those little 6 countries, Belarus and all that's going to get involved, and then all crazy. Well, the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, aka Rocket Man, is planning a trip. He's Rocket Man. I guess we really need to give Putin that name now. But he's planning a trip to Iran in the next couple of weeks. That's concerning, very concerning. You already got Russia and Iran and China buddying up. Now you got North Korea, which I just don't know if North Korea and China will buddy, but we'll see. South Korea is actually reporting that North Korea is planning a nuclear test next week, which is going to be at the exact same time that Vice President Harris happens to be in Japan for that former prime minister that was assassinated a couple months ago's funeral. So they're planning a nuclear test at the same time Harris is going to be there. Number 45, he actually has come out now and said that World War III is most likely it very well could be on the horizon. And I think he's right. And I'll be honest with you, I don't believe that this would be happening if he was still in office. And I know we said we weren't going to talk politics on here, and I'm not. I'm not saying, I mean, I am because I'm giving you all the updates on the news, but I'm not going to be trying to convince you who to vote for and whatnot. But, he was, even though he said things and did things, that were maybe he shouldn't have, but he was kind of like Putin. He said what he meant and meant what he said. And he was, he was when he was in office, the 3.5 years before the virus hit, things were going good. The countries weren't fighting amongst each other's, maybe a little tiff in there, but not like right now. Most definitely not people being drafted. I mean, that's just absolutely insane. And I'm watching these videos of families saying goodbye to their children. And one other thing that I didn't tell you is Zelensky has told these Russians that are being drafted, if they want to come to the Ukraine and fight with them, if they would protect them and provide for them. Yeah, I'm sure that went well with Putin. I mean, good for you, Zelensky, but I'm sure that went well for Putin. That's just going to make them even more angry. Yeah. But yeah, I do think if number 45 was still in, I don't think we'd be in all this mess. I really don't. I mean, I guess that's not something we really will ever know for sure because he's not. So, uh, okay, so Serbian president has come up now and said that he believes there's going to be a great world conflict within 2 months, and I kind of agree with him. I do, if not 3 months, but and he also believes the U.S. and NATO is going to be sucked into this somehow as well. Okay, so yesterday on the update, I told you about what happened in Iran with the 22-year-old woman that's it's not the jihad, it's the Ahab or Ajab or something, but it's the scarf that they wear. She didn't have it on perfectly right. And so the mortality police got her and they ended up beating her to death. Now everyone in Iran's in an uproar. Their communications are being shut off, their cell towers, their I think even the internet is being affected now. I know Instagram and WhatsApp and a few others have been taken down because they don't want people posting what's going on over there. But it's a hot mess over there too. I mean, people, but kudos for taking up for the women. I mean, come on. So anyway, number 46 has now put sanctions on the morality police in Iran. And, I mean, I get that, but in the same breath, you want to continue with UN nuke deals. I mean, not UN. You want to still continue with the nuclear deals. And on top of that, they've been attacking our military in Syria for almost a month now. And so, but anyway, he put sanctions on the morality police. Yeah, I will see what happens with that. Two more last things. The Iranian made Shahed, Shahed, 136 drone that was actually sent to Russia. Apparently, it's a pretty good drone. They're using it right now, and it is causing a lot of damage in the Ukrainian military. And that was within the last hour or so. So I'm assuming it's still going on. But yeah, and I know the Ukrainian military was trying to shut it down, shoot it down. But as of when I got on here, they had kept missing. It's a quick little booger. I watched it all over the place, and it was pretty quick. So apparently it's a pretty darn good one. And drones, man, they can come in and kill out a bunch of people, and you're protecting your military by sending in the drones. It's going to be pretty dangerous. Okay, last thing, inflation is causing the average American family $11,500 per year more. That's between gas and price increases, that's between food cost increases, that's gas, food, utilities going up, inflation, interest rates going up on the houses now, all of that. But it's costing the average American 11,500. 401ks falling, your IRA's falling, all of that. Yeah, so just keep everything in your prayers, guys. If this is the end times, this is nothing. It's gonna get so much worse. And and I pray every day the pre-tribbers are right and we fly out of here. I do. But I also worry to death about the people that were not in my dream, and I pray for them. So please keep these people I'm thinking of in your prayers so that they come to accept Christ and they don't get left behind. Um, and I hope that they do it soon. And, prayers for you guys and your families. And I hope everything works out. We might still be here next week. We might meet each other flying up in the air. Who knows? But if we don't fly, just keep your chin up. It's gonna be okay because it's still gonna happen. And I understand wanting to get out of here. I do. I do. I'm dealing with cancer for the sixth time, and which is why my hair is shorter on one side. I had to have radiation on my skull. But so I do understand wanting to get out of here. I'm ready for that glorified body. I'm ready for that healthy body. I'm ready for the wrinkles and the scars and all that to be gone. But I'm also want to make sure as many people as we can get saved is saved. We want as many brothers and sisters in Christ as we can. And, if they're not listening, leave them something. Leave them something. So if we do, when we do rapture out of here or potso, they will have something to look at and know what happened so that they don't believe the aliens abducted us and they don't believe the Antichrist and they don't fall for the mark of the beast. Leave them something. Actually, I have a left behind letter I'll attach to this recording. And there's also a rapture kit. We actually put the left behind letter together. The rapture kit came from another organization, but it's real good. So yeah, check it out. Okay. Maybe leave that for your family. And because, like I said, now a lot of people believe that the super high chance that we're going to be flying out of here Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Others believe it's going to happen a little closer to Feast of Trumpets, which are October 16th. I'm sorry, I should have had this pulled up. Oh no, Trumpets is the 26th. I'm sorry. Other people believe Tabernacles, which is or up to October 10th, October 11th. It's just there again how you interpret scripture. And another person brought up that it could be November 11th because that's the second month on the Jewish calendar. And, Jesus tells us that the end times is going to be like in the days of Noah. And if you read that verse, November 11th is the exact day that the door closed with Noah, the second month of the so many days. Okay, so, that's always a possibility since Jesus did give us that hint that it's going to be like in the days of Noah. It's a possibility. Okay, guys. And if y'all have questions, let me know. TwofriendsandaBible@gmail.com. Leave a comment. And thank you so much, guys. Y'all have a great one. Maranatha.